What's up, Canuck fans? Welcome to the Nucks Report, a proud presentation of DraftKings Sportsbook, as well as a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network. Be sure to check out the network for your favorite podcast covering your favorite team at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com, the home of hockey podcasts, every team, everywhere. Now, it is Monday, January 19th, 2026. We're going to go ahead and dive right into things, starting off with our first topic, and that is a report that the LA Kings are reportedly kicking tires on Evander Kane and could be a potential trade partner. We all know that there probably aren't a whole lot of teams willing to help us facilitate a Evander Kane trade due to his cap hit and just the fact that it's Evander Kane. But perhaps the Kings can help us and shed that contract off the books. So let's go ahead and take a look at this article that talks about this. We're going to bring it up right here. With the Vancouver Canucks rumored to have tried to peddle forward Evander Kane back to his former team, the Edmonton Oilers, it looks like another team might be quote-unquote kicking tires on the veteran winger. According to an article published on LA Kings blog mayorsmanor.com, the Kings could be in the mix to acquire Kane. Here is some of what they wrote. While it remains a rumor, something that normally wouldn't warrant much attention, it was intriguing enough to pause and take notice. Over the past week, two separate sources told Mayor's Manor they believe Kings general manager Ken Holland is exploring the possibility of a Kane trade. After being traded from Edmonton to Vancouver this past summer in exchange for a fourth-round draft pick, Kane has tallied 7 goals and 14 assists this season. However, he carries a -18 rating, the third lowest on the Canucks behind Tyler Myers and Brock Besser. Kane is currently in the final year of a 4-year deal worth $20.5 million, $5.1 million AAV. He also maintains a 16-team approved trade list, giving him some control over potential destinations as he enters the later stages of his career. The connection to Los Angeles makes sense given that former Oilers GM Ken Holland is at the helm. Not only did Holland originally sign Kane in Edmonton, but he has also brought in familiar faces from his former roster to bolster his current club. Corey Perry, 10 goals, 13 assists, and Warren Foegele, 6 goals and 2 assists, were both added this season as the Kings look to finally get by the first round of the playoffs. After missing the entire 24-25 regular season due to surgeries, Kane returned for the playoffs with the Oilers and recorded 12 points in 21 games during their run to the Stanley Cup final. As the rumor mill surrounding the Canucks continues to heat up, Kane's name remains among the most discussed trade candidates, with his hometown club rebuilding its roster in the coming weeks could determine whether the veteran left winger remains in Vancouver or finds a new home. I do think we are leaning towards, the latter. Evander Kane's return to his hometown of Vancouver has not exactly been a royal homecoming, but he might still end up a king of the Pacific Division all the same. I like those little bit of puns right there. Actually, before we continue, let's all take this with a pinch or grain of salt, at least that first article. This is actually a second article, so that talks more about, what we could maybe get from the Kings in return. But as I mentioned, we've got more to the story. And granted, we're probably not going to get anything spectacular for Evander Kane. Actually, we may even not get what we paid for Evander Kane, which was a 4th-round pick. And that's probably like the bare minimum when it comes to a trade return and Evander Kane. So let's go ahead and look at this. Fans and media alike have been split on the possibility of the Canucks selling Kane at or prior to this year's trade deadline. On the one hand, Kane is a fairly frequent and recent 30-goal scorer with a long history of playoff success and a traditionally postseason-friendly play style. He may be mired in the worst statistical season of his career with 21 points in 46 games, but that's at least partly due to the team's struggles as a whole. 9 of those 21 points are 5-on-5 primary assists, which leads the Canucks. On the other hand, this is Evander Kane we're talking about, and few names in the NHL come with more baggage attached to them. Not only that, this is now a 34-year-old Kane we're talking about. He's definitely begun to show that age in 25-26 after missing the entire 24-25 regular season. Fortunately, the latest rumors sound as though the rebuilding Canucks might be able to get something back for Kane by simply selling him off to the same GM who signed him to this current contract in the first place. That GM is Ken Holland, formerly of the Edmonton Oilers, but now in charge of the LA Kings. It mentions the article that we just actually read from Mayor's Manor. Holland and Kane have a long history after the San Jose Sharks attempted to terminate Kane's contract for violation of COVID-19 safety protocols and somewhat succeeded, albeit with a small cap penalty. Kane found himself a free agent partway through the 21-22 season. Holland and the Oilers snapped him up to a one-year deal with a prorated $2.1 million cap hit. Kane turned in 39 points in 43 regular season games and then 17 more in 15 playoff games, earning himself a 4-year, $5.125 million AAV extension. Kane is currently playing out the final year of that contract. Holland and Kane's time together featured 4 playoff runs, including the 2 most recent trips to the Stanley Cup Finals, though he'd never again reached the scoring heights of that first run. Kane was a key physical presence for the postseason Oilers at times and did provide some timely goals. And now Holland must be thinking that Kane can do the same for the Kings, who find themselves in the running for a wildcard spot in the Pacific Division. There's no doubt that the Kings need some offensive assistance. They've got a minus 10 goal differential, on the season, and through 47 games, only 2 Kings have passed the 30-point threshold: Adrian Kempe with 37 and Kevin Fiala with 33. One might question whether or not Kane is truly any solution to that problem at this point in his career, but we suppose Holland would have a more informed opinion on that than most. If he believes Kane will help his team, then at the very least, that's a bet he's been right on before. That also probably means that whatever offers the Canucks do get for Kane, the strongest is probably going to come from LA. So what might the Canucks expect to get back? Anyone who has memories of the Kings being named as the team with the best cupboard of future assets in the NHL, and who might be salivating at the possibility of picking a choice prospect, should pump the brakes. The Kings' system is not what it used to be, and it never really delivered on all that promise anyway. Their true quality prospects are all a little too rich to fit into a Kane trade, including recent first-rounders Liam Greentree and Henry Brstevich, brother of Hunter, and goaltender Carter George. Beyond that trio, they've got a couple other goalies that would be a middling interest in Hampton Slokniski, I probably butchered that, apologies, and Eric Portillo. Other than that, it's a handful of moderately interesting offensive prospects like Christian Epperson, a draft re-entry selected in the 3rd round last year, Wojciech Chiar, probably mispronounced that as well, an 18-year-old playing in the top Czech men's league, and Cohen Ziemer, a former Prince George Cougar, making his pro debut. None of these names are particularly exciting, but any of the forwards could probably make for a reasonable return for Kane and hold at least a chance of panning out at the NHL level. Each has the approximate value of a 3rd-round pick. One might expect the Kings to have a bunch of other young borderline NHLers around the periphery of their roster, but they don't really. That promised LA pipeline never yielded much hockey oil, and so if it's not a prospect being returned for Kane, it's probably just actual draft picks. On that front, the Kings are well stocked at least. They've got their own first-rounders for the foreseeable future, though no one is expecting one of those back for Kane, nor are they expecting a 2nd-rounder, even though the Kings have 2 this year. The Kings do also have 2 3rd-round picks in the 26th NHL entry draft, and at that point, we're getting into the right sort of range for Kane. If the Canucks can't pry the Kings' own 3rd loose for Kane, maybe they can at least get the Dallas Stars' 3rd, which projects to be later in the round. If the Kings plan on making multiple acquisitions, they may want to shed some salary somewhere along the way, and the Kings could theoretically help them out with that. Maybe taking back a bad contract, like the expiring one attached to former Canuck Andrei Kuzmenko, could be a way to increase the value offered. At worst, the Canucks might have to settle for breaking even, as in trading Kane for a fourth-round pick, just as they paid for him at the start of the year. But given the Holland connection, one can hope for just a little bit more. A third sounds pretty good, and so does one of those forward prospects with the same rough value as a third. The Canucks can't expect to get the moon back for Kane, but let Kane's old GM kick tires long enough, and they could still wind up getting more back than they paid for him in the first place, and that would be a minor victory. So as you can see from the last part of this article, the idea of trading Evander Kane for someone like Andrei Kuzmenko is brought up. And I'll admit, when I saw that, I was like, yes, let's do it. And I know what you guys are thinking. Pump the brakes. Honestly, just do it, or rather do it just to get Kane off this team. Plus, y'all know I'm a sucker for Kuzmenko. I want him back so badly. I know what you're thinking. Kuzmenko, he's too old, and yes, he's going to be turning 30 in like less than a month. But wouldn't you do it just to get rid of Kane? Get him off this team. The contract isn't that terrible for Kuzmenko, and he's a UFA at the end of the year, having only signed a one-year deal. I think it was for something. I don't have his actual contract in front of me, but I believe it was like $4 million AAV. But it's a one-year deal. He would likely be a rental. And like I said, I just want Kuzi back. I want him back. And if the Kings offer Kuzmenko and, I don't know, maybe a fourth for Kane, do it. Just do it to get Kane off this team, and I'd be okay with it. Even if Kuzi end up walking in the summer, okay, at least we would get Kuzmenko back for maybe a few months or as a quote-unquote rental. But actually, speaking of Kuzmenko, let's actually bring up his stats. Sorry, I thought I had them up real quick. So let me quickly bring this. Can't. Here. You remove these two things. There we go. Now I should be able to do it. Give me 1 second here. There we go. All right, so Andrei Kuzmenko, 43 games played, 9 goals, 10 assists, 19 points. He is a -4 on the season. And as you can see there, he'll be turning 30 at the beginning of February. But let's take a look at his last 5 games. And honestly, Kuzmenko has, I thought, played pretty well since his move to LA. And I think he's really fit in LA. But like I said, I just want Kuzi back badly. So here's his last 5 games. So he's got since January 10th, he got an assist against the Oilers. He was a -1. No points against the Stars on the 12th, but he was a -1 as well. He had a assist against the Vegas Golden Knights on January 14th, but he was a +2 and had 1 shot on goal. And then January 16th against Anaheim, no points. He was a -1. And then the following, basically a back-to-back on January 17th in Anaheim, he had an assist. And his ice time, as you can see here, starting with the Edmonton game, 16 minutes and 35 seconds. That got bumped up to 18 minutes against Dallas. But then he's up to 17 minutes and 44 seconds, so a slight decrease. Slight decrease again against Anaheim, 17:26, and then an even more decrease, 14 minutes and 20 seconds. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was actually scratched, a healthy scratch in the Kings' last game. Hopefully we get some King fans in here and they can confirm that. But I believe he was a healthy scratch in the last game. So, but all in all, pretty good. Obviously nowhere near what he was in his first season with the Canucks. But I feel as though he's been better since then. Let me know down in the comments if it was just to get Kane traded and off the team. Would you guys be okay with Kuzmenko being the return? And even if it was for a few months or as a rental, would you be okay with Kuzmenko coming back? Sound off in the comments down below. Now let's move on to our second topic. So our second topic, and it's some good news for the Canucks, some positivity, and it looks as though both Chytil and Teddy Blueger could be making their returns to the lineup relatively soon. It appears as though Blueger will be a little bit earlier, as early as tonight, possibly. He could be in the lineup tonight against the Islanders, while Chytil could very well return by the end of this homestand. Let's start off with Chytil, as he spoke with reporters following practice the other day for the first time since suffering yet another concussion back in October. It took just 6 games for Filipino to suffer his first injury of the season. Chytil, whose concussion history is well documented and dates back to his time with the Rangers, was on the receiving end of a booming hit from Tom Wilson in the Canucks' sixth game of the season against the Capitals back on October 19th. The hit will have kept him out for over 3 months, but Chytil says he's feeling good and is close to returning to game action. It's been a long 3 months with a lot of hard work behind me, Chytil told reporters after Canucks practice. Yes, just now I need some more practices with my teammates. And yeah, whenever I can be ready, I'm going to be back, and I can't wait for that day. From the beginning, it was very hard because I was hopeful that I could manage to play all 82 games, but it wasn't the case, said Chytil when asked about the mental challenges of recovering from yet another injury. But this is the part of the sport I can't avoid it sometimes. But yeah, sometimes it is the days like these, the last years, that have been very hard for myself and for my wife, for my family especially. And yeah, I missed so many events. I missed so many games in the NHL. Now I'm going to miss the Olympics as well. So it sucks, but it is what it is. Chytil was then asked if he has the support of his whole family to return to game action, given how many times he's already been sidelined with injuries throughout his young career. Sure, yeah, everybody's with me, of course. You guys have your own job to make articles and say things about the injury. You create your own stuff in the media, sometimes even for my family. When they know me firsthand, what's going on, sometimes they read here, Vancouver, or even check some stuff that's not helping them as well. Of course, there's been some stuff from the press conference of the Czech national team as well. So it wasn't nice to hear that. When people who don't know the situation about where I am speaks about it and makes statements they know nothing about. So it's been hard. But yeah, I got my whole family behind me, and I'm focusing on myself right now. Chytil expanded on his frustration about being omitted from Czechia's Olympic roster. I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I would be very proud to represent my country. But, sometimes the situation is like this. But like I said, there was something said in a press conference by our head coach of the Czech national team, who said some stuff and made some statements which were not true, which were a little bit made up. I never got the call from him, and he said some stuff which hurt my family and hurt me as well a lot, because it's not true at all. And it puts me in a bad situation mentally, and even my whole family. So I'm just not happy about that. I'm focusing a lot on my recovery here now and for the Canucks, because Olympics is not possible now. But yeah, I'm just focusing now on coming back here and playing as best as I can. From what we were able to find online, and with the help of Google Translate to translate English from Czech, Czechia head coach Radim Rulik said about Chytil at his press conference on January 6th. The predictions were that he would play 2 weeks ago, but he hasn't played yet for us. It's an option only if someone falls out of the selection. That answer seems quite dismissive on the surface, and it seems safe to assume there is more to it than given how bothered Chytil was about it. The Olympics kick off next month, with Czechia's first game coming on Thursday, February 12th, with a preliminary round matchup with Team Canada, while Chytil's Canucks teammate Philip Hronik will be there. It would seem he'll have to watch this year's games, from home, focusing on staying healthy for the rest of the NHL season. On the hit from Wilson that's kept him out of action since October, Chytil said it was a little bit late, but it's part of the game. When I look back, of course, there's details about what I could do different, but in that speed, in that moment, you're not thinking about those too much. Of course, I had a lot of time now to work on a lot of things, and yeah, that hit, it's behind me now, and I can learn from it. I cannot forget about it because you take so much stuff. You can take so much stuff from it, but yeah, I just have to work on now to avoid those hits. Now, before we continue and discuss more and get into our third and final topic, let's do my Mitchell sponsor read. And I'd like to start by thanking my main and primary sponsor, none other than DraftKings Sportsbook, the official or unofficial sports betting partner of the NHL. Hang on. Check. There we go. Never experienced the jaw-dropping moments that make hockey? Hockey? Well, you can experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN, that's code THPN, to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-9777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through per wager may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. This is a limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. A secondary sponsor, none other than Gassy Jack Art, maker of this fine artwork you see in front of you, and you guys can check them out yourselves at GassyJackArt.com. All right, where are we? Let's get back to here. All right, let's get into our third and final topic, as we got some roster updates for the Canucks. Starting off with this, obviously yesterday, General Manager Patrick Allvin announced today that no, there was not a trade, but that Victor Mancini and Nikita Tolopilo have been assigned to Abbotsford, and DPD has been recalled from Abbotsford, and so is Yuri Patera under emergency conditions. Now, I'm a little confused by Tolopilo going back down. And same thing with, I guess, Mancini as well, who hasn't been up for very long. And I just don't understand Tolopilo going back down and them calling up Patera. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with that 6-0 loss to the Oilers, but you can't put all that on Tolopilo. The team didn't exactly show up. Kind of left Tolopilo out to dry. And then, of course, you had Langton, who is feeling under the weather. So it's not like you could have pulled Tolopilo. But the fact that they're sending him back down and bringing up Patera doesn't really make any sense to me at all. Perhaps they just wanted to shuffle things around. I don't know. Who knows what goes on in Adam Foote's head? But Transitioning into, I guess this is like a bit of a double topic. Our third topic, as I mentioned, we got some practice updates for the Canucks. So let's go ahead and bring that up here. After their worst loss of the season, the Vancouver Canucks were back at practice at Rogers Arena on Sunday. It was a season ticket holder event with a couple of hundred hardy fans in the stands taking in the 40-minute session. Looking at the lines from yesterday's practice, they had DeBrusk, Pedersen, Besser as your first line, Vander Kane, Kampf, and O'Connor as your second line, Ogren, Blueger, Garland as your third line, and then Höglander, Sasson, and Carlson as your fourth line. Then you had your extras in Baines, Ratu, and Chytil. After being shut out 6-0 on Saturday by Edmonton with just 2 goals in their last 3 games, the Canucks rearranged their forward lines in an attempt to spur some offense. Veterans Jake DeBrusk and Brock Besser flanked Elias Pettersson on the top line, while Evander Kane and Drew O'Connor skated with David Kampf. Teddy Blueger, out since October 19th, filled the third-line center spot between Liam Ogren and Connor Garland, while Max Sasson skated with Niels Höglander and Linus Karlsson. Höglander has been a healthy scratch the past 2 games. Blueger remains on injured reserve and will need to be activated before returning to game action. He is considered a possibility to return on tonight against the New York Islanders. With a bevy of additional forwards on the ice, Archie Baines, Atu Ratu, and Filipino comprise the line of extras during practice. Baines will likely be reassigned to Abbotsford if Blueger is ready to go on Monday. With a heavy workload of late, Philip Hronek was given a maintenance day on Sunday, but would be ready to play on Monday night. In his absence, the Canucks had P.O. Joseph paired with Marcus Pettersson, while Zeev Bouillon formed a tandem with Tyler Myers and Tom Wielander skated with Victor Mancini. As they did at Saturday's morning skate, the Canucks had 3 goalies on the ice as practice. Netminder Alex Kotai joined Kevin Lankinen and Nikita Tolopilo to tend the nets. Kiefer Sherwood was seen in the Canucks locker room, but he did not participate with the group at practice. Adam Foote had no further updates on either Sherwood or Demko on Sunday. Marco Rossi, out since December 30th, was also spotted around the locker room area but has not been on the ice with his teammates since leaving the lineup. Teddy Blueger on getting close to a return to game action. Yeah, I'm feeling the best I've felt in a long time. It's good to be out there with the guys. It's been a long progression. It's been difficult, but feeling the best I've felt in a while, so it's good. And we had a couple of setbacks through the process. It was a difficult rehab, and it wasn't as straightforward as we had expected and would have liked, so it definitely took more time than I thought it would. It's been tough for sure. Blueger on how being ready to play for Latvia at the Olympics fueled his motivations to get back into action. It wasn't really at all until the last couple of weeks, probably because the whole time I was thinking I had plenty of time, really, not worries. Probably around the time when they announced the whole lineups, it started to come together and feel a little bit more real. And then it's like I haven't played in a long time, and the games are dwindling quick before I get to go. So I think probably the last couple of weeks it's been a little bit on my mind. Blueger on returning to a much different team without Quinn Hughes and one that's winless in 10 games. It's a frustrating time, but that's how it goes. Sometimes I don't think our job changes much, regardless of what direction the team is or the outlook. Our job is to show up and compete and work as hard as we can every day and try to win every game. That doesn't change whether Quinn is here or not. It's the same for whoever is in the lineup. It's your job to compete and play for your teammates. Fans pay a lot of money to watch us play, and they deserve an honest effort. I think it's a tough period, but I don't think the overall outlook changes from game to game. So there we go. Blueger is a possibility to play tonight against the Islanders, which would be obviously great for this Canucks team to get Blueger back in the lineup. Obviously, a great penalty killer, and it's just great to see Blueger, close to being healthy. Same thing with Chytil, but the potential for Blueger being in the lineup tonight is obviously great. As I mentioned, great to see him hopefully back tonight. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Are you guys excited to see Blueger back in the lineup after missing so much time, being out for 3 months almost. Same with Chytil. We, of course, as I mentioned, have no updates on Sherwood or Demko, or even Rossi for that matter. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And I will catch you guys next week. This has been the Nucks Report, your one-stop shop for all things Canucks. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. Check out our merchandise store. You guys can check it at thelinechangepodcast.threadless.com. Currently, we have our 1-year anniversary collection available for sale, featuring our redesigned blue and green logo, as well as our special skate logo. And as you can see there, the black hoodies with the skate logo look absolutely fire, at least in my opinion. Go ahead, check it out. There are some sales going on the site as well, so go ahead and check that. Also, if you want to continue the discussions with us, join our official Discord. There's a link in the description down below. It's completely free to join, so go ahead and do so. You can find us on social media. We're everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, even Blue Sky. Feel free to give us a follow. And also, if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us on either platform. It's, of course, greatly appreciated. Something else that's greatly appreciated, feel free to go ahead and download your favorite episode. That really helps out the podcast as well. So go ahead and do that. Once again, it is greatly appreciated. So that's going to do it for this week's Nucks Report. Like I mentioned, this is your one-stop shop for all things Canucks, and I'll see you guys next week.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.